Hello everyone. Welcome to the second video on UiPath document understanding with NER. So, in our first video, we looked at how to create a NER model in AI Center and how to create a simple workflow to extract data using NER from a document. So, in this video, we'll be looking at in a little bit of a complicated thing where you also have data coming in from the UiPath document understanding, data extraction methods, and also with NER. So we'll see how we can combine this data and perform some data cleansing to extract all the information that we need. So let's get to the scenario. Okay, so I'm using the same UiPath Studio solution. I have a new workflow file that I created to start on this. So before explaining the workflow, I'll show you the document so that you get a clear idea about what we are trying to do. So this is my document. So let's say part of this document is very unstructured, and a part of this document is a bit structured. So let's say whatever the document we get, we have this portion as it is, but the remaining parts are dynamic and we will not know where things will be. This can happen in real scenarios. That's why I took this document as an example out of the previous documents that we ran in the part one, um, so that I can build a nice scenario. So in this case, because this part is always the same, I will use a form extractor to extract this part of the document. And for the rest, we'll be using NER or named entity recognition to extract the names of people and some dates. So, having said that, let's get to the UiPath workflow and see how we can do this. So, in my studio, I'm using the same solution as I mentioned before. So, I have a new workflow file. Only addition I did here is because we are using the UiPath document understanding as well for this, I have created some taxonomy managers here. Basically, some document types in taxonomy manager. So if you're not familiar with taxonomy manager or form extractor, have a look at the UiPath document understanding videos in the UiPath Academy or in my YouTube channel. So there's a series for advanced document understanding, and there are some parts of that series where you can actually look at how to create these things. So for this scenario, I have created a taxonomy like this. So it's under documents, imports, and legal. And in here, I have a set of fields. I have company name and set of items over here to extract that table in the document and few other fields altogether. So through form extractor, only part of these things will be extracted. So let's have a look. So this is our taxonomy. And in my workflow, I have a build data table. This is purely for the NER, just like in our previous solution. So I'll be using the same structure here. Then I have the load taxonomy activity. And then I'm looping through the files in the folder. I would perform the digitization just like I did before in the previous video. So what will happen here is it will convert the document into a digital format and it will give me text, the text of the entire document so that I can perform the NER data extraction. So this is common to both NER and for the usual document understanding. And in addition, here I have the data extraction scope. to extract the data using form extractor. And I have the form extractor configured, so I'll show you how I did that. So this is my form, a template that I created. So as you see here, um, I'm extracting the grand total, which is over here, and only these items, the table items, just like this, and the title, the company name, basically, this part. The other fields, I'm not extracting any of those. That will be done by the named entity recognition. So this is my form. And in the configure extractors, as you see, we have a lot of fields, but I'm only focusing on this part. And all these fields like the internal person name, vendee name, document date, and document title will be extracted through named entity recognition. So when I say internal person name and the vendee name, document date, and title, that will be these names. Internal person name is this guy, document title is this, and the vendee is this guy, and the date is going to be this. So let's assume this part is very unstructured and it will not always be the same. And having that as a thought, let's continue with this. Okay, so this part is done. And then I have a present validation station so that I can actually show you the results. And right after that, just like in my previous workflow, I have the ML skill to extract the NER data, and I get the JSON response, deserialize it, add all those information to the data table I declared above. And down here, we are writing all the data into a Excel file. So basically, in document understanding, the data you extract through this present validation station or data extraction scope needs to be converted into a data set. So that is done through export extraction results activity. You pass the auto extraction result. This is actually the output of the present validation station, and that I'm using a for each loop for the data set. The type argument here is actually data table. So you can say auto extraction data set dot tables, and for each table I write everything into a Excel file. And in addition, I'm also getting the confidence so that you can also see how it looks like. So that is for the data that's coming from the form extract. But for the data that's coming from our named entity recognition, in here, this data table, I'm writing that data also into the same Excel. So remember, um, anyway, document understanding will provide you with the Excel file at the end through this step. So we can use that Excel file as a base for the NER data as well, but in a new sheet in the same file, so that we can perform additional things on the NER data to get the data that we need. So first of all, to get an idea about how this thing works, let's quickly run it and see. So let me remove this breakpoint here and let's run. So this file will be created under this output folder. Oops, I already have the file. Let me just stop it so that I can delete it. Let me run it again. So you can see the data extraction is happening. And here I have my validation station for the document. So you can see I have the company name and the grand total right over here and all the line items. So this is coming from the form extractor. And also you can see this part is not extract because we don't know where it is, and my form extractor cannot do that because this part is going to be unstructured in our scenario. So this is handled by the named entity recognition. So the challenge here is um, once you extract the data through the named entity recognition, we will actually not know where it is going to be. So that's why I cannot show that data in this validation station. To give you in more detail, for the validation station to highlight this information like this and provide the confidence levels and everything, it needs a lot more data than just the text that we see here. So that kind of data we cannot provide through named entity recognition because you already know it gives you only the extracted value and the confidence. So for this kind of highlighting, it needs the position of this thing, the length, and a lot more info. So that is not possible through named entity recognition because we don't know where it is, and it extracts the data from a text, a string basically. So if you're wondering, then how am I supposed to do a validation? That can be done once you extract the data. You can maybe create a UiPath form or like a form in attended mode, or you can create a form action that you can put it into Action Center so that people can look at the data that's extracted. So it's going to be your customized version of uh, the validation station, basically, where you can have all this data except for this highlighting. But the main purpose is to show the extracted data to ensure that it is correct by manual verification. Okay, so for now, I'm not going to do that because that's going to be a separate thing. So for now, let's see how we can extract the rest of the data. So let me save this so that it will create our Excel sheet after doing the named entity recognition, data extraction. Okay, so we have the new file that was created right now. So in here, we have the usual fields and the sheets that we get through document understanding. So these are the fields that I extracted through the form extractor. What you see here is the confidence. It's all one, means it's 100% because it's coming from the validation station. So other than this info, we also have this NER data. Okay, so now is the tricky part. So we have the data extracted. The what we need to do now is we need to find the information out of this data. So you can see other than what we need, it also has few other additional things, and some things are not really required. So we need to filter certain information out of it. And that we can do through this confidence. So again, a small tip. As I mentioned in my previous video, the named entity recognition works from top to bottom in the text. So basically, whatever the things that extracted first are the things that you see in the document at the very top. So in our case, um, this is my file. So you can see these are the things where I started to extract. So those names will be here at the top in the list in the normal sorting order. So just keep that in mind because this is a very helpful tip when you're actually trying to extract this data or trying to build a logic around this. And now let's do a quick sorting here. Uh, Sorting through the confidence so that we can actually see um, from where we can start filtering the unwanted information because we actually don't need any of these things. So in our case, what do we need to extract? Um, we basically need to extract, let me see, this info, internal person name, vendee name, document date, and the title. We have four fields to extract. And okay, in our extracted list here, let's see from where we can filter. So we have a person name here. It's 69% confidence. And I think this is a good place to start filtering. So whatever is above, let's say 68, we can get that info and do the validation logic or the data extraction logic out of this. So let's see how we can filter this. So ideally, we should go for a new workflow. So let me create it so that it's clear for you. I would say NER validation. And the first step is read the data from the file. Read range. Let me copy the file name from here because it's easy. And our sheet name is NER data. Copying that, and I'll be pasting it here. And let me extract everything. That data, I'll be saving it in a, let's say, NER raw data in a data table. And from that, I can start filtering. Filter data table. So again, why we are doing this is because we have a lot of unwanted things here, and I only want uh, four types of data out of this. So we're trying to build a logic to extract that. This logic building is very important when you're using models like this. So that's why I'm trying to show you how to do it, but it can be different from scenario to scenario. So you need to think by looking at the data and thinking what kind of logic that should work. So in this case, this is the first step, filtering out the unwanted things based on the confidence. Okay, so let me add this and let me configure the filter. So the column name is confidence. So if the confidence is greater than, let's say, 0.68. If it is greater than 0.68, then I'll take all that information um, and let's say filtered uh, raw data again. So for us to see how this looks like, let me just uh, write it into the same Excel so we can see how it got filtered. It doesn't necessarily required to write it to the Excel all the time, but this is just for our uh, visual thing, so we can easily understand what we are doing. And add headers. Okay, so let me close this file and yeah, let's run it and see. Okay, so I should have my new data here. Yeah, so this is my filtered version. So you can see I have altogether 20 rows. So in let's do a quick comparison. Let me do a filter. Sorry. Yeah. So it extracted up to this point. Okay. So this is the data that I need. And again, if I just remove this filter, let me quickly undo. Yeah. So this is our original version in the sort order. And here I have the same order. Nothing changed. As you see, I only filtered the unwanted stuff, but the order is the same. So let's quickly verify. You have this name, this two. Yeah. So you have the same order. So why I kept that order is because it's important when we are extracting the information. That's why I didn't sort. Now, what are the information that we need? We first need the person name, the internal person name. So in our case here, it's always the first thing. Um, so assuming that there can be a lot more things before this. So we cannot just say that the first row in the Excel file is always that. So we need to filter it based on this type. And from that type, we can find the first guy. That's how it works. Because, for example, let's say there are some organization items before this, some dates before this, we will not know. So always keep in mind that look at this type and then do the extraction from that list. So now we need to do another filter. Okay, so let's do a filter. So I'm filtering it using the output of this filtered raw data. And this time I'm going to use the type column, type, and this is going to be person because we are looking at people. I'll be adding it within double quotes, and this will be, I'm creating a new data table, filtered person data. And this will give me all the information of this person type. So you can see we have only 3 rows here. Let me just highlight it. So we know the internal guy is always the first person, but who is the other guy? So what's my other field? Let me quickly go here. Um, I'm referring this sheet because this sheet has a name. So internal person name and the Wendy name. So the Wendy name in our document is this guy. So you can see that there's something additional in our Excel. This person, some Clinton thing. So what is this? Clinton is actually a street name. This can happen um, because it's NER and you might get some unwanted data as well. So we need to find ways to filter the unwanted stuff. Even the confidence level is high. So you can see this has a 80% confidence, but it's actually not a name in our case. So um, now you have to think what kind of logic that you can build to extract only the things that we need. So probably you can have a look at things like this is like one word. You can maybe come up with a logic where you check whether there is more than one word, like splitting this and seeing the number of items, splitting it by space, for example. So using those kind of stuff, you can eliminate the unwanted thing. So let us do that. So what I will do is the pattern, one pattern that I say is this is just one word. So we can use the space and try to split it and see the count. If it is more than one, that means it's a valid name, for example. So these logics can change according to your scenario, but so we need to find ways to do it. Okay, so we have the filtered data and using this each. So I'm going to use a for each to loop through the person data. So filtered person data for each, sorry, the data table. So I had to use for each row. Filtered person data. And from this, so I'll be taking one item at a time and I can use a if condition to see whether it has my validation, whether it goes through my validation. So what I can do is I can say current row uh, was the value, it's data value, column name. If the data value to string, so I can split it. Dot split using a base and then get the length of this and see whether it's greater than 1. If it is greater than 1, that means it's a valid name in our case. And from that, now we can look at the things. So the first name is the internal guy, and the second name is the vendee. So I can easily extract the info. Now, so I'm looping through this. So how can I find which one is which? Because it's going to be a loop. So in that case, I can use a index in this case. Index can be created by this for each row itself. Let's say person row index. It's a number and it will increment for each iteration. It starts from 0. So inside this, I can probably have a simple if condition. Is ideal if you can do this in a flow chart um, because it will be much more clear. So if person row index equals 1, sorry, 0 because it's the first row, then I can assign that value to the internal person name. So what I can do is probably I can use this same Excel file and let's say I will use the simple fields. for example. So this is our two columns, internal person name and the confidence. I can get the confidence from our NER. So it's the column J and K. Okay, so let's do this. So I'm going to use a write cell. So in here, I'm going to write. This is going to be in the same Excel. And what's my sheet name? Simple fields. Oops. And the column name is J. I can say it's going to be in J2 because the first row is the header. You just go this. And from here, I can use current row, data value, dot toString. And same way, I can just copy paste the same thing here. And then it goes for the column K to get the confidence. So my confidence is with this title, column name. Okay, that part is done. And let's try to do the same thing for the other one, the when D. So if the person row is not equal to 0, then we can use the when D sequence. So let me just copy these two here so it's easy. For the when D, where can we save that? It's M and N. Let's quickly do the change. We are changing only the um, column names in Excel. So we have done the first part and we have two fields. Let's do a quick run and see how this works. So let me close this. So you can see these fields are empty. And let's run it. So I'm running only the validation. Okay, so let's see. So in simple fields, here we have the name, internal person name, along with the confidence and the vendor name, which is exactly what we need. So that's one part of the logic. So this is how you build simple logics based on NER data. Sometimes you will need to do some cleansing, filtering. It is needed when working with unstructured information. So let's see what else we can extract. We need the document date and the document title, the last two fields. So coming back to NER filtered, let's see how we can get the date. And for the date again, we have two dates here. This is one and this is another one. So if you actually look at the confidence, it can vary. Highest confidence is this date, which is not the date that I'm looking for, because in my case, I want this date. So we cannot always go based on the confidence. It can be a filter for us, but after that, it's purely based on the data. So in this thing again, we are coming back to our basic logic. When NER works, it starts from the beginning. So whatever the date we come up first is going to be our effective date. So let's use that as our foundation. So we need to do another filter. Let me just quickly group this into a sequence. So it's easy. This sequence is for person data. So we have everything in a nicely ordered way. This is for the person data. And let's do another sequence for effective date extraction. And I need a simple filter again. So let me do a filter data table. So again, the base is filter draw data. And in here, my configuration is going to be, the type is going to be date because it's of type date equal. And this can be filtered uh, dates. So this should ideally give us two rows. And we only want the first row. So because we know that we only want the first row, I'm not going to use a loop here. I will just write it in the cell, just to keep it simple. Write cell. Uh, yeah, so let me just copy some of these things. I don't need to retype. Simple fields. Okay. And our column name is going to be document date is P and Q. So I can say P2. And in this case, I have to write it in a different way because I'm not using a loop. So I can say filter dates, rows, 0. 0 is the first row. And the title, the column name is going to be date value. This to string. And let's do the same thing for the confidence. Q. And this is for the confidence. Now we have that one as well. Okay, so now is the last one to get the document title. So getting the title here, what I'm looking for is this scope of engagement. So that is actually under a specific type called law. And again, we have two types here. It can be a contract. And yeah, so in this case, I'll try to do something different here. I want to actually merge the contract and this name and also remove this below part. Let's see how we can do that. So the actual output should be contract dash scope of engagement, something like that. Um, so again, what's our basic filter? It's filtering by the type. Let's quickly do that. Let me add a simple sequence. I'll try to reuse some of the things so that I don't use a lot of time. This time it's going to be law. It's in capital here. Um, oh, sorry. This is type. This is law. And here I can say filtered law. So I have the info, and now I need to combine everything. So I will not know how many rows will be there. So whatever the names that I see under law, let's say I want to combine it so that I have a nice name. These are some scenarios, real world scenarios that I'm telling you, because I also had to work on something similar. So for, for each row, I need to loop through it to extract the info I need. So I will say filtered law, and let's first add it to a variable and assign. And I need to look at this. Um, so basically, let's also say I need it based on, okay, so let's keep it simple. Um, if this special character is there, I need to remove those stuff. And if not, I will just use the exact same thing. So let's try that. Okay. Okay, so before the assign, I need to check for special things. If. So let me do a if condition and current row, data value. Here I'm checking whether it contains this special character. If it contains, I will split it and get only the info I need. So I will use a assign, and on the right hand side, I will write the same code, current row, and ask to split. And I want whatever is on the right hand side. So it's going to be, once you split, the index also starts from 0. So in our case, if you split from this, this below part would be the first index. This could be the second index. So in computer language, the index starts from 0. So this is 0 and this is 1. So I want 1 here. So let's try to say 1 and toString. So this is going to be my, uh, let's say, doc title. I think I need to change the scope to, yeah, let's say NER validation for now. So it's going to assign it to this. And so basically this will overwrite. So I should say doc title plus this. So whatever it is there, it will just append it at the end. Okay. So I add that part, and then for the else thing, I can just assign without a split. Um, yeah, like this. So that makes sense. Hope this part is clear. So basically, what I did is, let me just repeat it real quick. For the law types, I need to have all the values as one in a one single cell. And since these are two different rows, what I did is I first filtered by the type law and then started looping through it. And also, since we need to remove some special, like remove unwanted things like using these special characters, I did the split using by checking a if condition to see whether it's there. If it is there, then I split. If not, I don't. And actually combined the values into a single variable by appending it. That's what I did here. And after getting out of this loop, I can assign it to the cell. Right. So, okay. Again, yeah. Let me just copy some stuff. Okay. So where do we need to write? Um, it is in document title. Okay. So that is column S. S2. And here I'm going to write doc title. And in this case, I will not add the confidence. Okay. All right. So let's try to run this and see how it works. So in your case, if you want to try to add the confidence for these kind of things, what you can do is maybe you can get the confidence as well and try to come up with the average out of all those items and add that as a confidence. There are a lot of things that you can do when you have the data. So for me to just keep it simple, I will just keep it as it is. And let me just run it and see. All right. Okay, so we have the simple fields. So we already saw the names. And here we have the date. The first date that I need, August 5th. And here I have the document title. There are some, okay, so this part I actually didn't notice, but you get the idea now. So just think how we can remove these kind of things as well. So there are a lot of things that you can come up with. Okay, so this is basically how you combine the document understanding, extracted data through the usual machine learning models or the form extractors, and performing cleansing over the NER data and combining that info into a single sheet like this. So, why I added this into the same sheet? Usually, in document understanding projects, what we do is we first extract the data and put it into an Excel file or into a database, whatever that suits your requirement. So, let's say it's an Excel file. So, however you extract the data, we need to put it into one single file so that our downstream systems or the other automation solutions that you build can use this data and update the downstream applications. So that's why it is important to have everything in one place. And that way you can actually minimize the overhead on those systems because it doesn't need to do this kind of filtering and cleansing and stuff like that. It has all the information in one place. You can just read it and put it into the systems. So when it comes to document understanding, this is one tricky part. Once you have the data, you also need to make sure you remove unwanted stuff and you have the actual data that you need to process using these kind of logics. So how you build these logics? You have to do it by actually looking at the data. So this is just one document. In the real scenarios, you have to like process multiple documents like this, just like we did in our previous video, and see how the data is coming through and analyze that data using the confidence, the order of things getting extracted, what are the things that you need to remove, and things like that. You need to focus on those things and come up with a logic that suits all those scenarios. It's not difficult, it's easy when you actually see the data. So you can, at the back of your head, you can come up with some nice logics to create those things. Okay, so in my next video, I will show you some tips and some tricks to actually do this kind of stuff. So what I showed here is just a simple thing for just one document. In my next one, I'll show you some more things in more detail so that you can use those kind of things when you're creating your solution. So I hope this is helpful and it was interesting for you. And until I see you in the next video, take care and see you soon.